Hey everybody, this is Crypto Messiah, and this is REKT.
Hello and welcome to REKT Podcast. I am Bunchu alongside my esteemed colleague and co-host Chamber. Chamber, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good, man. Besides the fact that I think I live close to a military base and an airport, and I think they're doing some sort of like flight training or maybe some sort of air show this weekend, and it's like Fallujah in my backyard right now. It's fucking nuts.
Well, that sounds lovely. At least your whole state isn't on fire like some places.
Oh my goodness! Like, did you see the? I was looking last night. Somebody had taken a drone. I think it was in San Francisco or something like that, and then did a bunch of like B-roll of the of the scenery in that area.
Yeah,
and put the track of Blade Runner in the background. It was insane. It was insane.
That's just really unreal. I can't imagine living in California right now, and especially isn't the fires like, aren't they mostly Southern California?
Yeah.
I think it's the entire West Coast. I heard all the way up to like Oregon and maybe Southern Washington.
And then there's like 2 feet of snow in Colorado. So
yeah, that's
we're fine. We're fine.
But
okay.
Anyway, we've got a fantastic guest, recurring guest now, officially a recurring guest with us today. We are very excited to welcome the one and only Messiah. How you doing, brother?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. You can just call me Daniel, or some people call me Messi. Either one.
I like Messi Daniel.
But don't call him late for dinner.
Don't call me late for dinner.
I was trying to figure out a way to get us on video for this show, because I happened to watch you on Shitcoin Talk the other day. Bunch, I don't know if you caught that, but a dumb had showed Messi how to... I don't know what it was. I don't know what program it was, but how to mess around.
It's actually Snapchat makes it. It's called Snap Camera. And so, I joined Shitcoin Talk, and Dumb's over there, I can like curse on this podcast, right?
Absolutely.
Of course.
I can't remember. Okay, well, that's just like my natural, like, instinct. So,
me too.
Anyway, Dumb's over there, and, his fucking head's, like, getting huge and then small, yeah. and he's doing all this weird. Then he's got Iron Man as his head, and I'm just like, dude, what? I need that. like that looks like that's right up my alley. So he got me hooked up with it, and it's essentially. Have you guys ever used OBS Studio?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like a virtual camera output. And what it'll do is it taps into your own camera, and then whereas if I was joining a hangout, I would normally select Logitech blah blah blah. You
right.
Select the virtual camera instead, and then you can modulate your face in real time.
That's super cool.
It was super cool, and
so you just add that as a source instead of your normal camera.
Yeah, and it's fun, and I always like to goof off. So
I was dying laughing.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
It's funny. I mean, you can make yourself Donald Trump, or make yourself have a giant head. Or
I have to do it, Chamber, I have to do it for the impression.
Listen, you have to just go back and watch the first 15 minutes of Shitcoin Talk.
People are telling me that we have Messi on today. They say that Messi's probably the biggest ape. They say he's a great ape. They say he's one of the biggest monkeys that I've ever seen. Dr. Fauci doesn't even know if he's a monkey or not.
Fauci's more like a gibbon.
That's fucking hilarious.
So that's what we do here on this show, Messi. I know you missed with us since last time.
I did. You guys have always been one of my favorite.
You have one of my favorite real life REKT stories that we've ever heard on the show, which was the one where you called the cops on yourself inadvertently.
Yeah, that was bad. I think I also told the story about how I shit my pants on your show too.
Yes, you did. I almost forgot about that one.
I did forget about that one. That's fantastic.
I actually, it's funny because I reminded myself of the story yesterday. I tweeted out asking, having a lot of followers is awesome. I can't remember who said it, but having a lot of followers, it's like having a better version of Google. Almost.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like whenever I want to know something now, like I don't go to Google. It's like sometimes like I want people's opinions. I don't want like the search engine driven, or algorithm driven, like you've been searching this, so when I search what's the best, whatever, they're gonna show me things that people are getting paid for.
Yeah, and that they use, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, on Twitter, I can be like, hey guys, like I was asking what the best all-in-one like post-workout shake was, and of course it comes with there's penalties that you take for asking things. Some people will say cum. Some people said liquor. But the good thing is I mean, there's like a lot of gym bros on Twitter. There's personal trainers on Twitter, and I was able to get like some good like honest advice, and to kind of drive me towards a product or potentially putting my own thing together or something. But yeah, it's like having like a search engine that's like actually good at your fingertips.
Yeah, so here's the difference between you and I. It's the follower count, right? So I actually tweeted out yesterday that I had some questions for somebody about live streaming, and I was hoping I would get some of the first of all, I was hoping somebody would say come, and then I was also hoping somebody would actually answer the question, and I got crickets, not one single reply. I was like, well, all right, I haven't made it yet.
It's a blessing and a curse, to be 100% honest. I remember I was tweeting out, and what reminded me of being on your podcast the last time, and of course the whole shit your pants story was, I had tweeted out that I'd used dark matter before, but it made me shit myself.
That's right. That's right.
That was a bad story.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are glad to have you back. We have so many questions. So you're going to be our version of Google today. So the reason that we, I think, hooked up this interview to begin with was Chamber and I have been sitting here for the past couple weeks, basically sitting on our hands while all of our friends get hilariously rich and we don't, the old crypto ugly sweater meme. And then, mostly because of, these DeFi projects and lots of farming going on. And really, we put out the SOS for a farmer, and your name came back to us the most times. We've obviously seen all of your, you've got the ape crew. So let's start there. Tell us about the apes.
Well, the whole ape thing just started as a drunken rant. To be honest, I was at my parents' lake home. I'd say maybe 2 months ago, and it was still at the time because I think even now people are in denial, and you look at coins like YFI that are about to make new all-time highs, and you've got people still saying that that was a bullshit rally, that was a suckers rally, whatever. But I mean, really, back in the early DeFi days, I mean, people were really saying this is bullshit, like everybody. And so I was hammered at the lake, and normally my rule is when you're hammered, just don't get on Twitter because nothing good ever happens. But I got on Twitter, and I started pleading with people to just essentially ape in, because we'd been through a 2.5-year bear market. The scars ran deep, I think, for everybody. I mean, for me, for all of my friends that have been here for a long time.
I'm still in therapy over it.
Yeah, I mean, it's shit. I mean, even the most OG of OGs, like, it doesn't matter who you are, like, that shit was brutal, like, really brutal. And I think that affected all of us in a way that we won't forget ever. But, I saw shit like Hex happening. I was like, what the fuck, and then the main thing that, while I think Hex is dog shit, and I think the market has proven that, but Hex went like 100x from the bottom. You know, granted, it did dump 100x before, but still. But the most impressive thing about that is Hex introduced me to Uniswap for the first time. Not that I bought Hex or traded it. I wish I did. Fuck. I mean, everybody wants to buy the next BitConnect, right? It's true. But, you know,
right,
at the
Chamber?
same time,
Damn right.
at the same time, I was looking at this Uniswap thing for the first time, and I saw Hex, and I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, I remember Bancor back in the day, you know, which is the first automated market making protocol. But this is the first time that I'd seen, like, unbelievable liquidity on a DEX. I mean, unbelievable. Hex had like 15,000 Ethereum worth of bidirectional liquidity. And when I say bidirectional, how a market maker like Uniswap works is it's a 50-50 pool, and that pool, you know, maintains a ratio, right? It maintains a 50-50 ratio of value. So as people, you know, buy the asset, you know, in the upside of the pool. So, you know, let's say I've got $100 worth of Ethereum and then $100 worth of whatever assets in the pool, right? There's your 50-50 pool, and they're in balance. So somebody buys, you know, one of the asset, and their Ethereum that was used to purchase that gets shifted towards the other side. And what that does is it throws the ratio at the lower price off, so then the price has to readjust to the upside. It's literally just division. So bidirectional liquidity, like on something like Hex or really anything, just means that, you know, in some kind of ratio, because there's other pools that have come out like Balancer with, you know, like 95-5, 80-20, like different exposure strategies. The original exposure strategy was this 50-50, and it just means that, like with Hex, there's 15,000 Ethereum ready to buy Hex, and then there's 15,000 Ethereum worth of Hex waiting to be sold, you know, to whoever wanted to come in and, you know, chomp at it. And that was honestly just astonishing to me. I'd never seen anything like that. So I started thinking, like, you know what, like, this could be something, and this could have kicked off a trend. And the main thing is you know, people in the U.S. specifically have been restricted from trading anything good for 2 years. Right?
Preach.
You can't get any good shit, and it sucks because, you know, you got people all over the rest of the world that, you know, have access to all these Binance fucking coins. Not that they performed, you know, great, but still, you know, the access is there. They could trade on Huobi, you know, they can trade all these other places. But the issue is that a lot of the money in crypto comes from the U.S. So you have a lot of money that's just kind of trapped and unable to participate in the market. And the biggest innovation of this whole Uniswap, whatever, automated market maker craze, is that anybody, anywhere can participate. And when I realized that, I was like, you know what, like, that's what we've been missing, because when nobody can participate, you know, price action fails on these coins. You know, the rallies fail. You have to have enough people to buy something for the price to go up. And when you look at something like Uniswap, now you've got the situation where, hey, everybody can play, which is awesome. So then I saw like stuff, you know, Lend went like 100x, and I was like, you know what, Link was all, you know, performing like always. There's always going to be outliers in a bear market. You know, I think Link is probably the best example of that. But this wasn't just, hey, there's outliers anymore. This was, holy shit, like, there's stuff doing like 100x. Like, something has changed.
Right.
And so I told myself, I was like, you know what, man? You've waited 2 years, you know, and you really have just been a bag holder, you know. Like, I had great bags, which really kind of set me up well for this alt season. I had Ren and RSR. I'd pretty much gone all in on both of them because I knew they were good projects, and I knew that, you know, fuck it, I can get in these, be a community member, hold them, and, you know, at some point I'm going to sell these for like 10x, which happened, okay, you know, which was great, but that gave me like a big infusion of early liquidity where I could just fuck around and try to participate in this. So I was like, you know, on Twitter, I was like, hey, you know, fuck it, guys, be the ape. An ape doesn't think, an ape just buys, an ape, because people are overthinking everything.
I'm still doing it. I need to ape.
Apparently, I have been aping.
I need to ape.
That's where it all came from, though. And I remember, when I was making these drunken ape rants, somebody posted a Planet of the Apes meme. And then immediately in my head, it popped in my head that, apes together strong, while apes apart are weak. And that's from one of the new Planet of the Apes movies, with Caesar's lecturing this big orangutan on how they can all, come together and, how they can all prosper together. And so I just started saying it. And it was getting a lot of engagement, and people were laughing. And the funny thing is that it kind of caught on. And, I saw hedge fund managers with a fucking ape in their Twitter name later. And, I saw everybody starting to use the term ape. I'm going to ape into this as kind of a replacement for FOMO or YOLO or whatever. And it just kind of went on from there. And so I just owned it. I mean, the way you make money in an alt season, because you're going to have distractions every single direction you look. There's always going to be a guy on Twitter that maybe he's salty that he missed out. Maybe he's expressing his own internal fears, but for whatever reason, there's always people that are going to sit out and they're going to say this is bullshit, blah blah blah. And a lot of times, especially when you have a degree of uncertainty yourself, and you see things like that, those things have a lot of influence over you. So the whole premise here is you've got to ignore all the noise. You've got to be the ape. The ape doesn't think or worry about anything like that. The ape just buys. And through being an ape, I think I probably, outperformed most people for the last 2 months. Now, the question is, keeping the ape's proceeds. And, when does that become something that becomes unprofitable? Because, it only works until it doesn't, right?
Right.
Which is the whole thing. But that's kind of like the classic saying of, the trend is your friend. And, when these markets were going up, you had to just assume that they were just going to keep going up and that it was going to get even more ridiculous and even more ridiculous. And it did. So, we're experiencing a little pullback right now. And I don't think that, this bull market is over by any means. If you look at previous bull markets, especially with like Bitcoin and stuff, 30 to 40% pullbacks are commonplace.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, this is really the first.
Unless you're Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, unless you're Dave Portnoy, because his number always only goes up.
Right.
But the main thing is the first dip is always the most painful, and that's what I see is going on right now. I mean, this is the first dip, and the first dip's the most painful because people haven't been trained to buy the fucking dip yet. Not when we say, oh,
you mean the new apes?
Yeah, well, not just the new apes or the old apes. Sometimes the old guys, get shit on by the new guys because the new guys are apes. And the old guys want to overthink everything.
Yeah, that's me.
I mean, because the old guys have scars. It's hard to get to move beyond those experiences that we've had of having something and losing it. And so there's this fear that you can't really avoid or get around. Which sucks. But the when it's the first dip, nobody's been trained to buy the fucking dip yet. So everybody starts remembering the bear market, and it causes brutal sell-offs because there's accelerated selling. Everybody's like, holy shit, I'm such an idiot. This was all over. I should have, been better. I should have listened. Blah blah blah. So they start selling. By the time this is all said and done, everybody will be getting hilariously rich. Because, Inverse brought in a poll a couple of days ago, and he asked, did you make money on Uniswap? did you participate in Uniswap? Did you make a lot of money? Did you make a little money and then lose a little money? Did you lose a bunch of money? And the vast majority of people did not make a lot of money. I mean, we're talking, 1,000 plus people, that voted in this. So a lot of people, you could kind of think of this in two ways. The first way is that this was kind of similar to 2016. And the real bull, the real bull is yet to come. Because 2016, I mean, there were people. It wasn't me, certainly. I was bag holding Decred, which ended up working out in 2017 for me. But it's either like, okay, this is 2016. There are people that made a lot of money, and those people are very fortunate. They're going to be set up really well for when the real thing starts. And then the second thought, or the second kind of mentality around this is, okay, well, this is the first dip. Like, look, we just had the Bitcoin halving. I don't know how much I believe in stock to flow, but it's been right so far. And it's, it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's gotten a lot of attention from, outside hedge funds and, important people and, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing here is that I think crypto is here to stay. One of the unfortunate things about crypto right now is that it's extremely correlated with equities. And you look at the SPX right now, and the SPX is pulling back. The dollar's ramping a little bit, and that's hurting crypto performance and also hurting confidence in crypto because people are feeling a little bit more risk off. They're not willing to take that crypto risk and have that exposure. So a lot of it kind of depends on, what happens with equities and this and that. And that's why I think, the real Bitcoin run isn't going to come until after the elections, I don't think. Because what the markets hate, because, I've heard so many different people say, if Donald Trump doesn't get elected president, stocks are going to crash, right? So many people have said that. Donald Trump's, he's the stock market president. If Joe Biden gets elected president, stocks are going to crash. But I think what the markets hate more than anything is uncertainty. And I can't imagine a more uncertain situation than, okay, well, is Biden going to be president or is Trump going to be president? I truly can't tell you. And I'm not a Trumper. I don't like the guy. And I'm not a Bidener either. I don't like him. So
they're both so old.
They're just old.
I was gonna say, I think you're in the majority. I think the majority of people are.
No, the majority. At least the majority of people are our age. And that's the sad thing is that I think a lot of people our age don't vote at all. Not that it really matters.
It'd be interesting to see if there's a correlation between this same time in 2016, like how things were performing in this same time, and that was
right.
maybe even a bigger election because it was before Trump was president and everybody was
talk about uncertainty.
Yeah, right, exactly.
People thought Hillary was a shoo-in.
Right.
I certainly did, and I wouldn't have minded Hillary too much, but. She is kind of evil, which, I think, even my mother, who's like a lifetime, lifelong Democrat, is like, all right, Hillary Clinton is a bitch, she's kind of a wild card. It's funny to hear her even say things like that. And, we're talking about somebody who's like, live by the Democrat, die by the Democrat.
Right.
And, my father voted for Donald Trump, which caused that definitely caused some tension in the household for a while.
What's he thinking this go around?
I think he's embarrassed that he voted for him.
I think there's a good chunk of those voters that are probably like your dad.
He's extremely conservative. He's a lifelong Republican. And my house has always been a house divided. And when I don't know how familiar you guys are with college football.
My favorite sport.
Same here. I'm from Alabama. We don't have a pro team, so college football's everything.
So
here.
It's the Crimson Tide or bust. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hey.
Or are you an Auburn guy?
I'm an Auburn guy.
All right, there you go.
I'm an Auburn guy. We're Eagle. But the thing is you're raised that way here. You're raised an Auburn fan or you're raised an Alabama fan. my mom was an Alabama fan. My dad was an Auburn fan. She was a Democrat and he was a Republican. So, I mean,
you were pigskin neutral. You were raised pigskin neutral.
I was raised an Auburn fan.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I think my dad.
That's why you and Ledger get along.
And she did. Yeah, Ledger's an Auburn fan too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could be friends with him if he was an Alabama fan. It's funny. Here it's like we'll make excuses. There's a shitty driver on the road, and you look at the plate, and no wonder they're an Alabama fan.
Of course.
That makes sense now. But anyway, I mean, the markets are really uncertain right now, and so I think that leads to like a lot of volatility, and that uncertainty is certainly going to be expressed here. Now, people are calling for another market crash right now, which I think is, I mean, it's 2020. I mean, right, and that's almost like a meme at this point, but. I mean, the reality is it's 2020, right? I mean, anything could happen. But we already kind of had a black swan this year, and the market bounced. The Fed is printing like crazy. We have inflation that's going to be going on for the next couple of years, and it's hard to believe that that the markets would crash under those circumstances. Now, I mean, the number doesn't always go up forever, right? But at the same time, they're going to prop it up for as long as they can.
Yeah.
And with Bitcoin, I think after this election cycle, happens, and after we know who's going to be in the office, and with stocks too, I think, or at least maybe even the polls start leaning 70% Trump or 70% Biden or something like that. I think that we're going to see the markets stabilize a little bit, and a little bit of the volatility go away.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good. It's about as good of a market analysis as you can get, Chamber, right?
Yeah, I was taking copious notes here.
The main thing is, I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I don't really think it matters if Trump or Biden win. I think it matters that we know, what the future's going to look like.
Right, which is your point.
Give people more confidence to do something.
Absolutely. So now enter DeFi. So you talked a little bit about it, but I think what I thought was interesting, we were talking about on our last show, was I saw somebody tweet, I'm waiting for my alts to move. And it was Ledger who basically said, bro, you've just been in the wrong things. Like it's not what happened last time. It's these newer DeFi projects, all of that. So, what is it? Is it because it's DeFi, or is it because it's new? And what's your thought on, the whole DeFi craze? What makes something a good DeFi project versus crap? All that kind of stuff.
When I invest in anything, I always look for novelty, and that's like my number one filter. I don't think that, because there's a lot of clone coins out there, and I think the best analogy is, if you go look back to, actually this is better. Bitcoin even, Bitcoin was novel, right? And when I joined crypto, everything wanted to be the next Bitcoin, and it didn't matter if it was better. If it had better technology. Hey, this one's got, Bitcoin has 10-minute blocks, and that's really annoying. This has faster blocks. But this is Bitcoin with quantum secure cryptography. This is Bitcoin with this. It didn't matter because they were all just clones. There wasn't really any novelty there. And that's, the main thing that I'm trying to look for. Like YFI, I wasn't, early on that by any means, but YFI was extremely novel, and YFI was even shocking to me because I still remember talking to a friend about YFI a month or two ago, and it had gone from like $5 to $1,000 in a week, and I was like, holy shit, like there's no way I'm buying that, right? Like it's gone up like 200x. Like I can't buy that. Like that's insane. Next thing we know, YFI is at $40,000, and is outperforming a lot of the market right now. And I think one of the main reasons for that is the novelty. YFI is kind of almost the grandfather of everything that is DeFi, in a sense. If you look at guys like Andre Cronjob, he's kind of like the Satoshi of DeFi, in my opinion. But the main difference, though, is with DeFi and with what happened last time, in 2017. In 2017, we had this large influx of retail buyers, and those large influx of retail buyers became greedy. They got Bitcoin and they started thinking to themselves, what can I do to get more Bitcoin? There's these things called altcoins. So then they went for the easy, the low-hanging fruit. And that was the shit that was on Coinbase, the shit that was on Gemini, large caps, right? And in all previous alt seasons, what's happened is, Bitcoin runs, new retail comes in, those guys get greedy, they look for ways to get more Bitcoin, then they buy large caps, and then, they get greedy again, and then the money trickles down to the mid caps and then to the low caps. When, your $5 million cap coin is going to 200 million, that, the writing's in the wall, like this is getting close to the end.
Right.
This time it didn't happen like that because, we didn't need new money to pump DeFi. And the reason is that, in the past, if you look at even ICO Mania, all these ICO guys were saying, hey, and look at my pitch deck, my ICO, what we're doing, my crypto has, a $2 trillion potential market that we can tap into. And if we can tap into this is going to be huge. And people were like, fuck yeah, like that sounds crazy. Like I'm buying the next Bitcoin right now. That's amazing. But the reality is that none of those projects were they weren't able to tap into that customer base. And so they failed. With DeFi, the brilliance of it is that the customer base is already here. The DeFi has immediate product market fit. You've got traders, the holders, exchanges, gamblers. Any kind of customer that could exist for this product is right here. And the amazing thing is that DeFi is here to stay. DeFi is only going to grow because the more people that come into crypto itself, the more DeFi customers there are going to be. Even at the later stages when grandma's buying Bitcoin, right? What if and CZ made a good point. Everybody's making fun of him and clowning on him for CeFi DeFi and him talking about that. But there's going to come a time when grandma buys her Bitcoin and somebody waves 15% returns in front of her in a year, and grandma says that's incredible. I get 0.5% at my bank. And so grandma's going to participate in DeFi. She's the customer, which is incredible. And a lot of the places that are going to make that experience available for the masses are going to be centralized exchanges. But DeFi, because all of this new sector was created and all of this stuff was very low market cap, and Uniswap enabled everybody to participate and everybody to be a part of DeFi. DeFi blew up from the bottom up rather than the top down. It wasn't this trickle down like my large cap's going to pump and then this is going to pump and then that's going to pump.
Which is what we were used to last
time. That's what I thought, to be honest. When we were starting this alt season, I had a giant Zcash bag.
So did I. That was the first coin I got myself back into after not holding.
I was like, man, Zcash is super low. Like, I'm going to average into this. I'm going to get as much as I can. And, this is when I was like, high caps are going to rock and roll. I can take some off Zcash and buy some other stuff. And I had my REN and my RSR, but that was, really the thought there. And then things started happening the other way around, and I was like, well, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would this be going on? And then it occurred to me that it's because of Uniswap, and because it takes a lot more money when you've got a $250 million market cap project, and and we're talking about this shit going to $2.5 billion valuation or something wild like that. it takes a whole nother like league of money to move something that's already a $250 million cap to a $1 billion cap than it does to take a $5 million cap coin and move it to 100 million.
Right.
It's just a totally different.
Well, there's also
situation.
not hordes and hordes of people holding underwater bags with
100%.
resistances to break through, right? I mean, that's got to be part of it too.
That's a huge part of it, and you look at, because a lot of people are holding all these old dinosaur coins. A lot of people are holding their, hey, this ICO was great in 2017, and these guys have been working really hard. Like that's you're coping because you're down 90%, right? But the reality is you don't believe in those guys anymore. You believe in them enough to get your 2-3x out of that and not feel so wrecked, and then you want to move on to something fresh. So a lot of these older projects are always going to have that overhead, especially when there's so much innovation in the space now. And there's so many new projects that are unencumbered by these bag holders. New projects that you can buy into, and you go to the Telegram channel, and people are excited about it, and people aren't angry with the devs, and people aren't angry with themselves. People have hope, and
Sushi.
Yeah, sushi.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. But I mean, that's the main thing. I always tell people, I invest in novelty and anything, stuff like that. One of my main filters is the community. I look at a project and I say, oh, that's pretty novel. I think this might be something, or at least worth taking a punt at. Maybe it's novel, maybe it catches on. Like I bought this thing called fee active collateral token, and it's gone from like $2 to like 40 cents, and I'm like, oh fuck, like that sucks. But it was novel, and that's the reason I bought into it. And maybe it does end up being something, and maybe it doesn't. But you're not going to make crazy money, by buying things that are clones of other things. We went through this big phase of, everything was going to be the next YFI. Hey, I'm YFV. Hey, I'm, YFR. I'm YFII. I'm, YFuel. I mean, there's a million clones out there. But the thing is, these are clones without Andre, which he's like the X factor, for YFI, because he's brilliant and he brings so much innovation to the table there. But when you buy a clone, you might be getting the same technology, but you don't get that X factor.
That's a good point.
At all. And that's why these clones aren't succeeding like YFI is. It did, it still is, and I think it'll continue to succeed. But you go look at those Telegram channels, which is for people that aren't really familiar. Maybe you have some audience that's not super crypto, probably mostly crypto, but most of crypto communities reside in Telegram. Now, there's definitely communities that exist in Discord, but the majority of crypto people are in Telegram. And you go look at that Telegram channel, and you'll find out exactly how you're going to feel about that project in a week. Because if you get there and everybody's excited about it and they love the dev, and everybody's praising him, and because it's really, really difficult to piss off somebody that has a vested interest in a project, because they don't want to flood their own bag, right? When new people come in, they don't want to put off the impression that they're unhappy or this is a bad investment, because they need you to think this is a good investment, because they want you to join the community. They want to grow the project. If you go to a Telegram channel and everybody's mad, that those guys have been done dirty, like to a great extent. Like, it takes a lot to piss a bag holder off. A lot to piss a bag holder off. So you go to a Telegram channel and it's everybody saying, where's the dev? I haven't heard an update. Blah blah blah. I mean, that's going to be your exact experience. So you kind of just have to move on at that point, unless you have some kind of like asymmetric information, and the dev's just a fucking nerd and he didn't want to talk to anybody, and but it sometimes happens. Like, I have a bag like that, my Keynesian's bag, which is I think a fantastic concept of basically creating synthetic staked assets. Like, imagine you have or a lot of times assets are bonded, and what that means is that, like, if I want to stake, I'm going to lock my coin up for a month, and I'm going to get a return for doing so. But the issue is that when it's locked up for a month, I can't do anything with it, right? But what if I could create a synthetic version of that staked asset, and I could trade that asset and the returns it was generating as a synthetic token, that's pegged to the value of that asset and the asset's returns.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool because all of a sudden you've got people that are baking their teses and using those teses that they're baking as collateral for a loan.
Genius.
At the same time, which it's crazy.
To bake more teses.
Yeah, I mean, they could be doing that. A lot of people do that. Hey, I'm going to take my Ethereum, I'm going to get a USDT loan for my Ethereum, and then I'm going to buy more Ethereum. It's leverage that's been introduced into the system.
Pretty interesting stuff there, Chamber. What do you think?
All I gotta know is, what do I gotta ape into right now?
Right now.
Okay, all right, hold on. No, this is a whole new segment we're getting into.
Right now, it's hard to say because here's the main thing. The first wave of this DeFi phase is over, and I could be totally wrong, but I think we're going to see a migration of liquidity to quality. Whereas before, people were going and people were making 5x returns in a day off TARD token, literally.
So that's gone. You think we're past that at this point?
I think we're past that.
So if you missed out on that, like me, you've missed out on that. Don't try to go do it now.
Out on that. And even back then, like I wasn't buying stuff like that because I just couldn't bring myself to do it because it's just a pump and dump. But there's other pump and dumps, just one cycle coins that are kind of disguised as something good.
Right.
So you have to keep your eye out for those. But the main thing is that a lot of these projects that we've seen are flash in the pan, one cycle coins that are going to pump, they're going to dump, and then nothing is ever going to happen again because there's really no substance there.
So we talked about buying the dip earlier. Is it a time to buy the dip, or are we waiting?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Big time. It's time to buy the dip.
So what should Chamber? Chamber, you're going to do this right now.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to ape into it. I'm beating my chest right now.
What should Chamber ape into on the dip right this moment?
If you want to just be tortured, I do think that, and you have strong hands. I think that Keyson's bag, and it goes by Ken, is a good thing to do. Right. But just know that it's literally the situation that I described, where the whole community is enraged about the developer.
But the dev? Oh no!
So he's giving you the one that he just said.
And here's the main thing is you've got a polka dot project that's extremely cheap and novel because of that. Like the dev's lack of communication and the amount of FUD that occurs in that channel daily is priced into the coin. So it's very cheap in my opinion. But that's, when I'm buying something like that, I'm buying it because, hey, like this is a $3 million cap right now. And, this is either going to go to fucking zero or this is like $100 million cap.
All right, let's find out.
Like there's extremely like asymmetric risk reward on some of these things. The main thing that I would advise anybody to consider when they're looking at any of this stuff, beyond novelty, is when you're asking yourself, what's going to be a one cycle coin and what might have some staying power. Because the things, when I talk about staying power, I'm talking when I looked at like REN and RSR, I knew that those had staying power because they were providing something. They're going to provide a service that people might use. So when I'm looking at, like you might look at the flavor of the week, you look at like an anti-amble or, something like that, or this is the new revolutionary deflationary monetary experiment. That's great. You can hop in that on, and it might pump and dump and, it might not. As long as you have the sense that when everybody's celebrating, that you need to be selling, like that's fantastic and, good for you. Most people don't have that sense though, and they're going to ride the wave up, and rather than selling, they're going to be in the Telegram channel, stroking each other off with the rest of the guys, right? Guys, fuck yeah, we made it, blah, blah, blah. Next thing they know, they're back to where they started. But investing in protocols, I think has a lot higher hit rate than that, and also is more sustainable. Protocols are a lot less likely to be one cycle coins. And you look at something like REN. REN is a protocol. Keynesian's network, that's a protocol. I've invested in something called Spartan network or some shit like that. And now Binance just released their smart chain.
I was just looking at Spartan.
The brilliance of Binance Smart Chain that a lot of people don't understand, because Binance has a real shot at absorbing some of Ethereum's ecosystem. And the reason why I think they've got a shot and nobody else does, because everybody says, ADA is a better Ethereum, Tezos is a better Ethereum. These guys really missed the mark, because the issue is that Ethereum is already established. Ethereum already has a dedicated infrastructure built out for it, community, all of these things. So if you're going to try to be the next Ethereum, you've already fucked yourself, because Ethereum is the next Ethereum, just like Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. These people aren't going anywhere. The issue is that, Ethereum's not scalable, right? It became incredibly obvious, over the past month. Again, it was already obvious before. We already knew,
look at the fees.
Fees. We got reminded. There's guys. There's small fish that are just out there trying to make it with their $200 bag, and these guys, had staked their coins, were getting a good return, and then when it came time to sell, they said, "Fuck, it's going to cost me $50 to get out of this smart contract, and that's 25% of my portfolio." Just to pay the fees, which just sucks. But where Binance crushed it, where nobody else did, was it's EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine compatible. And they not only ported the Ethereum Virtual Machine, because other projects have done that too. Solidity works on my blockchain, right? They ported everything. They ported Etherscan. They ported all the infrastructure. I can use it on my MetaMask. When I was buying Spartan coin or whatever, the other day, I had to burn some BNB. Now the interesting thing here is they created the BEP20 standard. For people familiar with this, Binance, all those Binance tokens, are BEP2. Now BEP20 is like the Ethereum equivalent of all this Binance stuff. And you can run all of this code, all the stuff that's on Ethereum right now can, in an hour or less, be moved to Binance Smart Chain. And I was able to send these coins after I had to, set up my MetaMask to do it, which took 5 minutes. But I was able to send BEP20 BNB to my MetaMask and sign transactions with my Ethereum app on my ledger, which I think is quite incredible, because these guys they're not trying to be the next Ethereum. They're trying to complement Ethereum. They've literally created, before Ethereum 2.0, they've created scalability for Ethereum, which is huge. Huge.
It's necessary, right? It's
necessary.
Incredible,
but you look at stuff. Serum is not Serum. Solana is, it's so fast and great, and blah blah blah. But even then, when I look at Binance Smart Chain, the X factor here is Binance has an enormous community. Okay, absolutely enormous community, which is one of the resources that. Oh, but EOS has this. Oh, but Tezos has this. Oh, but it doesn't matter. They don't have the user base that Binance does. And Tezos, ADA, blah, 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 they're all trying to steal Ethereum's user base, which just isn't going to happen. You're not the next Ethereum. But you look at Binance Chain, and they're not trying to steal anything. They're trying to complement Ethereum. And my experience on that, it's literally, if you go to let me see if I still have this Explorer up. Let me see. BSC. Yeah, it's bscscan.com for anybody that wants to take a look at it themselves. But it looks identical, okay, to Etherscan. And when it was the same experience that I'd had using Ethereum. The same interfaces that I'm used to and comfortable with and that I know, the same addresses that I've been using for Ethereum. Everything is the fucking same except for the transactions are mega cheap. mega cheap and mega fast. And it's extremely scalable, compared to Ethereum, and extremely easy to do anything Ethereum does on this, and extremely easy to move anything on Ethereum to this. And the two can coexist side by side. They complement each other quite well.
Interesting.
So I think, investing in some of the infrastructure for Binance Smart Chain is really smart right now. Because I can see, and there's going to be people that argue, fuck CZ, which I don't know why you'd say. He's done a lot for crypto. Or, Binance sucks, or, this isn't decentralized. That's my favorite one. I don't really give a shit if it's decentralized or not. Hold on. Hey, stop. My dog's being so bad right now. So my dog and my cat are best friends. And my cat is in the closet right now, and my dog's trying to get in the closet, and the cat's swiping at her, and the dog just does not know no for an answer.
He's aping in.
He's aping in. The cat's pissed. But they're best friends. They chase each other around all day, and it'll be hilarious because the cat's name is Nori and the dog's name's Autumn, and Autumn will be walking around the corner.
My dog's name is Otto.
Yeah, it's a good name. Yeah. Good name. But Autumn will be walking around the corner, and Nori will just dart out, at Autumn from behind the couch and chase her around the house. And Autumn runs like hell. But then, when Autumn's done being chased, it's her time to chase. And then she'll chase Nori, back under the couch or wherever. But, that's pretty much what they do all day.
I mean, it's a good life, really.
It's like too much activity for me.
So, yeah, right. Chamber, so what are you aping into, Chamber?
I've aped. So the everything's been approved. Transaction's gone through. I have purchased some Keynesian network.
Okay.
All right, you know where to find me when you get wrecked and become an angry community member.
That's okay.
All right. That's it. Newest bag for Chamber. Not financial advice from Chamber.
No, I aped.
He went and aped. All right. So we have to switch the topic to, I feel like, what the breaking news of the afternoon is, Chamber. Do you want to get into this?
Yeah, I do actually. Just before the show started, I was on Twitter, and I think a lot of us were on Twitter, and we saw Chef. Is it Chef Nomi? Am I pronouncing that properly?
I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I feel Nomi is correct.
I've heard Nami.
Who knows? I'm sure I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah.
He came out just a little over an hour ago and said, I have returned all the $14 million worth of Ethereum back to the treasury, and I will let the community decide how much I deserve as the original creator of SushiSwap. In any currency, whether that be ETH, Sushi, etc., with any lockup schedule you wish. Now, that's not really the tweet I'm looking at. The tweet I'm looking at is your retweet of it, where you said, to be quite honest, I'd say 0. You forked someone else's work, you wrecked people, and you lied. Nice gesture, but go fuck yourself.
Oh, seriously though.
I think you put it succinctly, and I think it's accurate and factual. I think that is the right answer.
Think about it. There's guys that lost their ass. I mean, he basically rug pulled the coin.
After he said he wouldn't, by the way.
And for those guys that, because rug pull is something that's thrown around so freely now. Just a quick explanation of a rug pull, guys. On Uniswap, there's liquidity pools, as we described earlier, right? When you provide liquidity to the pool, in return for that liquidity, you're given kind of a voucher token, that allows you to redeem your share of the liquidity. And those are Uniswap V2 LP tokens, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the big trend now is, did the development team lock up the liquidity on the coin? Because then that shows that there's going to be a market for the coin. You're going to have liquidity. You can sell or buy anytime you want, and that the development team is committed to that project long term. So what the rug pull is, and it's kind of a new scam. The developer doesn't even have to dump on you. What he does is he throws up the liquidity. He lets the price go up. And what happens is, as the price is going up, he's taking what's called impermanent loss. I'm not going to get super into that, but the TLDR is that his whatever he's provided, right? Let's say it's sushi. As the price of sushi increases, maybe he has 5 ETH and a million sushi, and then sushi goes a million X, right? And now he's got 100,000 sushi and 15,000 Ethereum. So what he does then is he says, okay, my share of this liquidity pool is now 100,000 sushi and 15,000 Ethereum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my liquidity. And what that does is all of a sudden now you've got this asset that's gone, 100x with no liquidity. There's no buying order for it anymore. There's no liquidity for you to sell into. That's exactly what this sushi swap guy did. And not only did he pull his liquidity, but after he pulled the liquidity, the remaining sushi that he had, he sold it on the market. And he crashed that market. And a lot of people lost their asses on that.
I mean, that was a rug pull to end all rug pulls.
It was a rug pull. And the thing is he had assured the community, the day before.
There's screenshots of him saying you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to dump. I'm here for the long time. Then the next day, oh, guys, it became too much about the money, so I had to walk away with $15 million, right? Returning the money to the community.
And then he's like, Satoshi Light did it. And Litecoin survived. And we're like, Litecoin's 90% down from where it was at that time.
Even then, Satoshi Light developed Litecoin for, fucking 5 years.
Right, of course.
You were there for a week, bro.
I like this tweet from Nitacoin a couple minutes ago, about half an hour ago. It's an 8-step plan. It says 1, take dev fund. 2, short it. 3, make bank. 4, enter long. 5, return original dev funds. 6, burn coins. 7, cash out. 8, bro down.
No, seriously. But there's a lot of theories going around and a lot of conspiracy going around because the whole thing is literally like the plot to a movie. Where, there's just so many like cliffhangers and twists and turns and unexpected things happening everywhere. It's just crazy because
Sushi the movie.
No, the whole thing is just so surreal. You've got this community takeover, and then Sam gets, voted in, and all of these other people were pissed off because, the Hardwood did this big thread on how there's all these there's more votes no than there was yes, to ensure that, or that nobody who's an actual community member, got to be one of the multi-sig holders, and then there's this whole thing that all the people that did get voted on are VC guys, and people like that. So SushiSwap, became less like DeFi and it became, totally taken over by VCs and stuff. But the interesting thing here is that the money was returned and the thing is about that and my big problem with this is, because people thought I was making an attack on open source, which I'm not. But at the same time, let's say that one of you guys develops this great computer program, right? And
unlikely, but okay.
Yeah, it has a ton. Unlikely, but okay. So it has a ton of users, blah blah. Everybody loves it, and then Chef Messi comes on, and I say, hey, I'm going to take your computer program, all of your work, and then I'm going to you're going to get a token for using my computer program now. And that token is an incentive to use it. It's a monetary incentive to use it and to improve the computer program.
Because that's really the only difference, right? The only difference he did is he did the 0.05 sushi instead of the full, 3% or whatever, 0.3%
right.
or whatever it was.
Right. So that's the main thing. But the thing is that the vast 99% of the work there was done by somebody else that didn't profit off that work. Now, Uniswap has VC investors and stuff now, sure, but they didn't get to profit like that. And then this same guy, has the gall to rug pull on it, and then come back and return the money because, trust me, I guarantee you he was getting death threats and stuff after doing that.
Guarantee.
You don't do that to a bunch of nerds. You just don't. It's dangerous.
Nerds are extremely tough behind the keyboard.
No, they're extremely tough behind the keyboard. But there's actually people out there that can fuck you up, and crazy people out there too that will do things to really mess with you.
Right.
Lop got swatted, right? A year or two ago.
Yep.
The Bitcoin.
That's a crazy ass story.
It's super scary because he's a known big time American. He's got tons of guns and like it's scary to have somebody like that swatted because they come in and they see rifles everywhere and they shoot you. But this guy, he returns the money and he thinks that he deserves something for putting everybody through all this. Now, one of the conspiracies is this whole thing was just orchestrated from the beginning, which I think Nitacoin's tweet is kind of hinting at. Because it all seems to, like, oh, this guy, everything was great, and then this guy dumped, and then the price goes down, and oh, this thing's margin traded. So somebody that knew that this was going to happen could have definitely made money. And then, hey, the bottom's in because, Sam steps in. And then, after that, like, oh, the price is going in a little bit. Okay, so what do we got to do? Now Chef Nomi returns the money. Hey, guys, I'm really sorry about that. You know what? Fuck you, dude. Like, what? What do you mean you're sorry? Like, you rug pulled. And it's great that you return the money. Like, thank you very much. But at the same time, returning the money doesn't do anything for those people that got fucked.
Yeah, it's true. And now, okay, let's move on for a minute now. We've talked about, we've got two more things to talk about here. So one, we've talked about DeFi, but we haven't touched quite on, and we touched a little bit about the sushi like rewards, but what is, for anybody who might not know, the farming aspect? When they refer to farming, what are people referring to? How does it work? So on.
Okay, so a lot of these protocols are, have these farming things going on to basically incentivize usage of the protocol, to bootstrap users. So, for example, and I think SushiSwap's a good example. SushiSwap says, hey, you come provide liquidity on my platform and we'll give you our sushi token. And that sushi token gives you governance rights to the platform. And maybe through that sushi token, you can, maybe the platform generates some revenue. And we're going to be sharing that revenue, with the sushi people. Or maybe because we don't want to be a security, and this is kind of the workaround a lot of people have done. We don't want to be a security, but it's a DAO. I mean, if you vote for that revenue to be shared, then, we just got to do it, right? But it wasn't a security. You guys voted on this. That's kind of what farming is. Like, for example, with MTA, I'm farming MTA right now. And I'm farming it. What that means is that I'm providing liquidity for their coin on their platform. And in return for that risk, because there is risk to providing liquidity,
sure.
And in return for that risk, they're going to compensate me with some more MTA, which kind of makes it worth it. But that's really what it is. There's an opportunity cost to having your liquidity, somewhere, and not only that, but there's a risk of exposure as well. That's why, if you look at something like MTA, I might be getting like 100% yield, and then, but I'm going to provide liquidity on USDC to USDT. Well, there's not nearly as much risk there, right? I mean, what the fuck's going to happen? So I might get, 5% yield on that. Another concept, and what some people refer to as farming, is, some of these loan, like Cream, for supplying assets on Cream, you get Cream in return. When I say supplying, you're enabling people to borrow and to use the platform. You're bootstrapping that platform because, I can launch Cream 2, and I can say, well, hey, you don't get any rewards for providing your Ethereum, your USDT, or whatever, for people to borrow. You just get the interest rate. Well, why would people do that? Because, they would just go to established platforms where those rewards kind of already exist on their own. But if I come in and I say, hey, by loaning my Ethereum out, you can get 10%. And by the way, we're going to sweeten the pot. We're going to actually make that 40% total because we're going to give you Cream too. It incentivizes people to be there, and through people being there, the platform can grow. It's just a way to bootstrap growth, is all it is. And so people, there's all sorts of different, kimchi and hot dogs and bananas.
Oh, we'll get into that in just a second.
There's all sorts of fucking farming things out there that are scams too. That people can provide liquidity, and hey, this is mega risky to provide liquidity on, so we're going to give you, 1,000,000% APY, while you're providing liquidity in our token, and everybody's incentivized to provide liquidity for the token. So it's kind of like a hot potato almost.
Interesting.
Because everybody's providing liquidity for this token. And by the way, you're going to be paid an absurd amount of this token to dump on people providing liquidity for this token.
Interesting. Yep. So I mean, that makes sense. Chamber, we're gonna get to our last segment here.
I think we should. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of farming, now we went through, and you kind of mentioned it, right? So there's all these different. And actually almost like food meme tokens on Uniswap at this point, right? And, some of them you can farm and everything like that. So we are going to play a game with you called Farm It or Fork It. So we're going to give you a list of all of these farmable and food-related tokens on Uniswap. You're going to tell us, would you farm it, as in, would you put your liquidity there, or put a fork in it? It's done. It's a scam. All right, you ready? We'll start with sushi. So farm it or fork it on sushi. Fork it. Fuck that guy.
Get the fork out of here.
Get the fork out of here. Cream. Farm it. All right, Chamber, farm that shit. You better get ready. Yeah. Okay.
Look, guys, cream's gone up a lot. I mean, don't see that as me saying, "Hey, go buy a bunch of cream." I mean,
no, we're just aping.
$25. Just keep that in mind.
I didn't know this one existed. It's literally called farm.
I've seen some people farming that, but fork it. I mean, but guys, most of these answers are gonna be fork it.
Yeah, we assume so.
Okay.
Yeah. The list is not getting better.
The list gets worse.
I think this is an order of liquidity on Uniswap.
Okay.
So it's just going to get worse.
Spaghetti.
Fork it.
Grape.
Fork it.
Pork chop.
Fork it.
Tacos.
Fork it.
Shrimp.
Fork it.
Pie.
Fork it.
Yams.
Fork it.
Noodle.
Fork it.
Spring roll.
Fork it. Guys, look. The answer is fork it. Like, I've got, one of my number one rules are no food tokens. I'm not interested in the latest, like, food craze or food fad. And there's madmen, like, I've got buddies that actually, will get in there and expose themselves to that risk. And if you can get out in time, before the hot potato is done.
There you go. You said it's a hot potato.
You might make some money, but at the same time, like, I don't want to expose myself to that level of risk.
Sure.
Even if the rewards are great, because all it takes is that one fucking time. Especially if you're being irresponsible with your sizing and getting super greedy, it takes that one time. For you to, like, shrooms, for example. Hey, I'm gonna farm this. I'm gonna get all this APY, but it doesn't matter because I had to buy $10,000 worth of shrooms, and I farmed what could have been $50,000 worth of shrooms, but by the time it's all said and done, people are farming so much that the price of shrooms has gone down 80%.
Or so you could be nugs and they can just close up shop overnight.
Or not. Hey, appreciate all the Ethereum guys. There's something wrong with their contract. Peace.
So I mean, now Chamber's gonna go farm something. So what should he farm?
I think the best things to farm for people who are not like just deep in the shit and seeing super familiar are probably going to be like lending opportunities. Like I can go and I can lend out my Ethereum and those loans. When people take out loans from these platforms, they're collateralized.
Right.
So even if they can't pay me back, their collateral is going to get liquidated and I'm going to get my money back.
So your risk is much smaller.
Your risk is much smaller just being a lender, especially, and if you can find a good opportunity, like Cream was a fantastic opportunity.
I feel like you're going to tell me to do this with MTA?
Well, yeah, MTA is similar, and with MTA, it's you're looking at a project that it's a protocol. It has a definite use case, and it's here for the long term. So I can sit there and I can farm MTA all day. Now the price action of this coin has been a fucking bitch. I bought MTA at $2.80, and then I bought it at $5 and $7, and then I bought it at $10, and I bought it at $5 again, then I bought it at $3.50. Like just fucking go already, right? Like, I don't want to sit in this forever. But at the same time, I can park my MTA and I can farm it because I know that this has long-term viability. In worst case scenario, like maybe I get wrecked on it temporarily, but there's a high probability that it's going to come back one day and that I'm going to have the last laugh. And that's what I mean. You don't want to be in these flavor of the month type things. You want to buy into things that have like real staying power, and that really reduces your risk surface here. But these lending opportunities are just great. I mean, and that's because you don't have the risk of impermanent loss. You don't have the risk of losing your money. I mean, there's protocol risk, which means that, oh shit, guys, sorry, there's a bug in the smart contract, and all your money's gone now. So apologies for that. So you always want to be investing in things that I don't want to ever put my money in something that hasn't been audited. Solidity is like Swiss cheese. It's just full of holes, and there's a lot of smart guys out there that if your contract hasn't been audited, if it's a clone of something, if it was thrown together with haste or anything like that, there's guys out there that'll figure out a way to take your money, to fuck the contract up just because they want to watch the world burn. So Cream was a compound fork, and the novel thing about Cream was, because I know I discussed novelty earlier, so I have to address this. The novel thing about Cream is that Cream was operating outside of like legal jurisdictions, essentially, or U.S. legal jurisdictions. So they didn't have to be careful about what they listed, and it allowed them to list a lot of fringe assets and things that people didn't have a place to lend and borrow very quickly, which allowed them to gain market share. But lending, you're a noob, you want to farm, get some Ethereum, get some USDT, lend that shit out on a platform that's going to compensate you for you being there, as a lender. That's the ticket, in my opinion.
There we have it. Chamber, any last questions before we wrap this bad boy up?
I mean, if you don't know...
What did you learn today?
I learned so much today. I learned not to buy any food-related tokens.
Yep.
I learned what farming really is, even though
I learned that farming wasn't just for food tokens. There you go.
That's a huge one. That's a huge takeaway.
Guys, people just took the whole, because it's called farming, people just took that way too far.
That's what I mean. And then they just started making food, and that was it.
They took that. I'm sure you guys have seen that. All the farmers are posting this. It's honest work meme. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
It's so good.
That farmer. And, crypto's all about the memes. And memes have such, incredible power. You've seen, pretty much like with Donald Trump, I'm sure a large majority of him winning his presidency was based on memes.
Sure.
Because, how could you not make memes about that? Memes are...
That's why Portnoy likes us.
Viral marketing.
Yeah. That's why Portnoy likes us.
He loves the memes and stuff.
Yeah. That's gonna wrap us up. We got a lot of awesome, useful information here, which is not always what you get with us. So I'm very happy with the information we've gotten in this episode. So Messi, thank you so much for joining us again. I hope you have enjoyed yourself a second time, and will eventually come back for a third.
I'd be honored to come back for a third.
Awesome.
Guys, there's so much we didn't get to discuss.
I know, it's crazy.
And there's so much more to discuss. If anybody's interested in furthering this discussion, if you go to my Twitter page @CryptoMessiah, there's a link to join the Trading Pit.
I was going to ask you about the Trading Pit to end it off.
The company that I work for, Hero Games, has a chat room just full of degenerates, and these are people that have been, in the shit. These are guys that have been in the trenches through this whole farming things. A lot of these guys most of these guys I'd say are much more degenerate than me. They're farming food and, farming nuts and acorns and, all this just shit that I would never touch. But some of them have done quite well. So I mean, if you do want exposure and you want to ask some questions, it's a free Telegram room that's sponsored by Hero Games, and you can get in there and you can ask questions. And I mean, everybody's super nice.
Just so you know, like sometimes somebody will tell you to join a Telegram group, you'll go join, and it'll be like crickets in there. I check the trading pit like probably once a day because I'm in there, but it's I have missed 55,474 messages since the last time I looked. Like this place is popping. So I will second that. It is one of the most happening spots on Telegram for sure. So check out the trading pit. How's everything with Hero? Any updates there before we wrap up?
Yeah, Hero's going fantastically well. We have just announced a couple of partnerships. We've got, everybody saw, we have partnerships with some huge names like Alameda Research, CMS. All of these big funds have come in to be liquidity providers for our LPP program on the Hero platform. And we have some new products coming out very shortly that are going to, and this is in partnership with a big exchange that I won't mention yet, but these products are going to be highly liquid, and they're going to allow people to have exposure to kind of options in a very simple way. Like imagine being able to come into Bitcoin or come onto Hero and say, I want to put up 0.1 BTC for 50x odds that Bitcoin is going to be over $50,000 by December 1st, right? Well, you're going to be able to do that and more on our platform very soon. And I think that's kind of the X factor, because MoonRekt's been popular. MoonRekt has gotten a lot of attention, and MoonRekt is kind of our flagship product, and for people that aren't familiar with it, if you go to Hero.io, you can check it out. It's a lot of people will say it's similar to binary options. I mean, you have to choose if you think the market's going to go up or down. But the main difference is binary options, the odds are rigged against you because you're playing against the house. On MoonRekt, you're actually playing peer-to-peer. You're playing against other players.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You were talking about how the 50-50 liquidity worked on Uniswap. It's kind of the same thing, right? If you're on the heavy side, the ratio is better on the other side. So
right. I mean, it's 100% like that.
Yep.
So if I bet that it's going to go up, and 5 people bet that it's going to go down, and we're all equivalent. The guy that bet that it's going to go up, if it goes up, is going to make a good share of tokens.
Yep. I was addicted when in the beta.
Yeah, it's addictive. Unfortunately, we had to wall off U.S. customers and other people from other jurisdictions. But the big thing about MoonRekt, while it's super fun to play, degenerates want a place where they can go and where they can get really rich or really wrecked really fast. And I think our next product is going to take that idea to the next level. So I'm really, really excited to announce, what the names of those products are, go into more detail about, who our partner is on those products and all that sort of shit. And that's all stuff that's coming, very soon. I'd say within the next month. So be on the lookout for that. And the website is herohxro.io for anybody that's interested in checking that out.
Awesome. And I can vouch for playing Hero. I was in the beta when they had US, and I loved it. It was fantastic.
Me too. I spent way too much time on it.
Yes. So we'll have you back on when that stuff kicks off. You could talk more about that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But for sure, check it out, and then check out the trading pit. And obviously, you know where to find Messi on Twitter. If you don't know, you're doing it wrong. So
Crypto Messiah, come say what's up.
That's
I
it.
Promise you, I'm friendly.
That's it. So awesome, man. Thank you so much. That's gonna do it for us. And until next time, don't get wrecked. And that is financial advice.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. You can help support us by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and become a REKT patron by signing up for a monthly tier on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/REKT podcast. Don't get wrecked.